So if you don't have access to a class to learn how to read it, what would be the best way to figure out how to read a topo?
Yeah, sure. There's a lot of YouTube stuff out there. There's one guy in particular. I don't know anything about him other than I have checked out his YouTube site, and he's incredibly thorough. It's technical though, and he's quick, so you may have to watch it, but the information is legit. And the name of his YouTube is Analytical Survival, I believe. Is the name of it.
I think that's the guy that Charlie had us watch.
Yeah, we've used it for many different ones, and the guy's incredibly thorough. He's got a military background, and you can tell his training was spot on. But I need a map and I need a compass. And the reason I need the compass with the map is to orient the map, so I can turn the map in the proper directions. North of the map matches north in the real world. And then from there, after that, it's understanding terrain association, you know. And the nice thing about a big map on a piece of paper is I'm not trying to stare at it on a screen this big, right? I'm not constantly zooming in and out. I can see what's beyond. So even though I'm on this valley over here, just at a glance, I have a much better bird's eye view of the terrain than I do trying to look at it on a tiny screen. And I can, you know, if I've got a pen or pencil, if I need to, I can make notes on the map and, you know, whatever I need to do to help me remember certain things. I write in the margins of the maps all the time, you know, just making little notes. Yeah, and maybe I don't need that during the trip, but it's great too after. Or maybe like if I want to go again, you forget things over time, right? And then
don't take the right at the front.
Yeah. There's something sketchy over there. Don't go down that way. You know, having that paper map is a great default. And I think that it helps you to build confidence and sort of take ownership of, you know, your trip. When you're out there and you're able to, you know, decipher the lines on the map and see what's going on in the real world, there's a lot of confidence there in your ability to know where you are. And even though you may not know exactly within, you know, meters of your exact location on the map, you're able to recognize that, well, these lines are close together, it's quite steep, and I've got my map oriented, so that must be this cliff that's up ahead, right? And I can see the creek, how it runs through the map, and I've got a creek over here to my left, so that means that I've got to be on the east side of the creek. You know, that you start to put these things together and use your common sense, deductive reasoning skills, and you sort of narrow it down, and you can say, oh, well, I've been right in this area somewhere, you know, and then, you know, you can pick lots of different terrain features you can use and techniques you can use, but you can pick something out and say, well, when I get to, you know, there's a fork in the creek up ahead, right? And when it forks and I get to that, I'll know exactly where I am, and you can sort of
or that Forest Service road.
Yeah, precisely.
There's a lot of trails out there. We think, if we're not familiar, we haven't done the trail before, we think, like we said earlier, it's a trail, how bad can it be? They could be poorly marked.
They can, and
you can have intersections.
It's very seasonally dependent, you know. I mean, the trail isn't like
overgrown
road, right? I mean, they don't receive maintenance unless it's like our Collins Trail. Those guys are awesome. They're out there doing maintenance all the time. But a lot of trails don't get that kind of good maintenance. Like, it can be quite a long time, and there can be trees down. If it's in the fall, there's leaves all over the trail. The placards that mark the trail get aged, and sometimes they fall off.
Or buried some.
Yeah, I mean, there's any number of situations, and so, I mean, sometimes it's all good. You're on, like, a popular section of trail that gets done a lot, but then if you're trying to, you know, if you're going further than maybe the average person, I've plenty of times been walking along, and, you know, 5-10 minutes later, I'm like, where's the trail?
Yep.
You know, and then maybe you got on a deer trail, a game trail.
That's what I was
you
going
know,
to say, or a social trail that just
because animals use our hiking trails, but they don't stay on them, right? They got their own plan, and they'll veer off. And there's been plenty of times when I was hiking and I started following a deer trail, and you know, again, 10 minutes later, I'm like, I haven't seen a placard in a while. And, you know, it's no big deal if you have a map and you can backtrack and you can go back, get yourself back where you need to be. And then
so that's a good intro to the next question. So if you're hiking along and you do get off on a social trail or a deer trail, and you realize you're lost.
Sure.
What's the best way to prevent that or to get yourself out of that?
The best way to prevent it is just awareness, to not get so caught up, in what you're doing. You see that a couple different ways. One is maybe someone's got, let's go hike with earbuds in. And then the other way is because you're socializing. You're in a group of people and everyone's sort of talking and you're laughing and having a great time, but the next thing you know, you guys veered somewhere, and that's an easy thing to happen too. So the solution to that is typically one of two things. Hopefully you have a map, whether that's a phone, GPS or something like that, or a paper map, hopefully both. And most people, if your experience isn't that good, most of the time I would say backtrack. Try to get yourself back to where you were and then start from there.
So we're at the Facebook questions. We have a couple of questions from Facebook people.
Okay.
Somebody wanted to know if you're hiking and you run out of water, say it's just a day hike.
Sure.
You run out of water and you're just at the end before you have to turn around and come back. I'm guessing. What do you do?
Right. Well, again, there's a lot of variables. Like, you ran out of water in your water bottle, but is there water around you? Right? Is there a creek? Do you have a water source of some kind? If so, and if you planned well, hopefully you brought a filter with you. Filters can be had for as little as probably $12 or $13, for a straw filter. And you can get down and you can scoop from your bottle, put the straw in, and drink. Water filter need not be expensive. You can get more comprehensive ones for as little as $25 and up. So if you've prepared yourself with a water filter, usually that's a pretty easy fix. Or if you're trying to go super ultralight, have something in your kind of survival or emergency kit, just some type of tablet, a chlorine dioxide is kind of the most common use today. We have, there's one brand new product that we've got that's in an electrolyte actual purifier. It's a really interesting product. It's a liquid. Pretty cool stuff. I'm about to test it out on a climbing trip I'm about to go on. So I'm looking forward to see how that works. But it's a great lightweight option. So if you have water sources around you, if you've prepared, it shouldn't be an issue. And I would highly recommend that everybody have some way of treating water. Now, if we get out and we don't have water around us, now that starts to get a little trickier. But I would say that's where the map comes in again. Like, water flows downhill, right? Water's going to be in the low places. Look at your map. Are you up on a ridge? Could you drop down slightly into a valley and find a water source? And, at the end of the day, how serious are your hydration needs? Some of us can hike for a little while, dehydrated, and while that's not a good idea, after some time, we learn to understand what our bodies can do. Other folks, they can get into trouble in a hurry, start cramping and having real issues as soon as you get just a little bit dehydrated. And while I would never recommend anyone hike, dehydrated at all, most of us walk around mildly dehydrated anyway. So I would say, purifier first, or a filter of some kind. A way to boil your water would be next, and then understanding the terrain and geography around you.
So, and I guess really it would be come back to, your situation. If you're halfway through the hike and you drink half a bottle of water, you still need more water to finish your hike and then come back.
Yeah.
So then you have to stop and make a decision. Do I want to go on and risk this, or I should just turn around and go back?
You're absolutely right. Again, knowing what your limitations are and foreseeing the potential trouble you might find yourself in if you don't make a good decision now. You're realizing that, I'm continuing up, and up is hard, and up often means, it may mean less water, since, waters tend to flow down in the valleys, right? Especially if we're in mountain country. Oftentimes, it's easier to find water lower down in the valleys, but the higher we get, the more difficult it's going to be to locate water sources.
The next question is, what are some of the most important lessons you've learned while living this lifestyle, as far as the adventure?
don't stop going on adventures. I think that's the most important thing. You know, I've been really fortunate. I'm married to an amazing woman, and I have 2 great kids. And a lot of folks, when they have kids, I see it. They kind of stop. You don't have to stop. You know, you can find ways to continue to work, and it's not easy. You know, it's not. You got to fight for it, but that's something that's worth fighting for. And I would say don't. The other thing is don't make generalizations about, you know, people and their experiences. And I've learned that from working here. You have people that walk through the door sometimes, and you might. You know, we all sort of look at each other and have some idea of like, oh, well, that person maybe looks like they know what they're doing, or maybe that person doesn't. It's hard to not do that a little bit, right? But when you ask yourself honestly, like, if I've never really met this person, or if I just met this person and we're having a conversation, like, don't judge people. Don't make assumptions about what their experiences are, either, you know, good or bad, in terms of, you know, we have an issue here sometimes where we're so used to talking about things amongst ourselves and amongst a lot of our customers at a certain level that we'll come in and we start at that level, and we forget sometimes that, like, you know, someone comes in and, you know, I'll be talking about a sleeping bag, and I'll say something about continuous baffle or something like that, and it's like
that blank look on their
right,
face.
and it's like right over their head, and I'm like, okay, I need to tone this down a little bit, right? And I just need to, you know, be careful about my terminology, because this person doesn't work in an outdoor store. They haven't been trained, you know, and all this type of stuff. And I need to do a better job of helping this person, not by using a bunch of fancy jargon, but by, you know, speaking to them in a way that makes sense to them. And same thing the other way. You might see some person who walks in and for whatever reason they're dressed a certain way or they're acting a certain way, and you're like, oh, this person probably doesn't know what they're doing. And they may have done 10 times more than you ever have. You know what I mean? And I've had that happen too. You know, where some, you know, older person walks in or whatever, and they maybe look a little frail or something like that. Come to find out, the guy's hiked the AT and the PCT and the Continental Divide, and he's done, you know, and that absolutely happens. And he's done way, you know, 10 times the amount of hiking I've done. And so, you know, yeah, work hard, get out there, do stuff. You know, don't give up the things that are really important to you, and you know, yeah, don't judge people. Just be nice to them.
That leads us to the 5.
All right,
5 questions that we ask everybody.
Okay.
See a common thread going.
Sure.
Number 1, I guess referring to your climbing and all that. What is the most common misconception people have about what you do?
I think people often just assume right away that it's either dangerous or dumb. You know, when you're talking about climbing specifically, it's like, why would you do that? It just seems like a giant waste of time. Why would you take that amount of risk? And it seems simple, but I would sort of say, why wouldn't you?
Would you say climbing helps you define your limits and understand yourself better?
I would say that climbing helps me focus. One of the things that I've always genuinely appreciated about climbing that's different from just about every other type of activity that I do is that if you're up high in the mountains and you're in difficult terrain, and it might be dangerous depending on the situation, is you are absolutely focused, and there's no room in your head for anything else. And in my personality, I can be a little scatterbrained. I have a hard time focusing my thoughts into one very specific thing, and so climbing really helps me do that. Everything else goes away, and all that I'm doing is the next move. That's all I'm worried about.
Climbing more, 'cause I'm pretty scatterbrained.
Yeah, and it helps me to. It feels really good to be focused like that.
What would you like people to know or understand about what you do? Climbing.
As it pertains to climbing, that anybody can do it. Anybody can go rock climbing or mountaineering or whatever. You know, there's absolutely no reason that anybody can't. Now, you know, obviously there's equipment, there's skill and training and knowledge and all those things, but I'm no more predispositioned to be able to be a climber than anybody else is. I mean, there's been double amputees climb Mount Everest. right? Like, it's in here. That's what
Yeah.
matters. And so, anyone can do it. It's just finding your way into it and through it.
Definitely
that
one
matters.
you want to find somebody that knows something about it to start with.
Yeah, you need to start in a good place. You need to get good training, and I'm always happy to help people to get them started on the right foot. The first places I would say starting out would be to just get a couple of good books. There's some books that have been out for a very long time. John Long's How to Rock Climb series is how I got started when I was a kid almost 30 years ago. They're out, many editions later, but they're great books. And there's many different sort of subcategories that other authors have done as well. If you are the kind of person where you really want the ultimate resource and you're going to nerd out on it, the Freedom of the Hills is like the end-all, be-all. It's the Bible of climbing. And it's one of those books. It doesn't matter how long you climb or how good you are. You can always go back and look in that book, and you're going to find something that you forgot, or that could be of some value to you. So starting in there, and then of course from there is getting some good training, and that could be from a community of people at a rock gym, or some other club, or it could be hiring a guide or an instructor.
So what's the hardest part about what you do?
As it pertains to climbing and that type of stuff? I don't know. That's a difficult question. There's so much more good and joy that comes out of it. I mean, when I say the hardest part about it,
Planning.
I see the planning I really enjoy the planning. The planning is a way, the planning for me, and again, it's a difference in personality, so I can't speak for anybody else, but the planning is a way to extend the trip for me. It's a way for me to pre-game the trip a little bit, and it really gets some enjoyment out of it before I go. A lot of times it makes a lot of sense for me to, plan my trips responsibly and have backup plans and contingencies, letting people know where I'm going to be, making sure that I'm not sort of doing something that's more difficult than I have business doing, monitoring the weather. If you're out west, what's the forest fire situation?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of issues, things you have to take into consideration.
So what's the most enjoyable part? The planning.
No, for sure not. No, the planning's great, but on every trip, there's usually a few moments throughout the trip where sometimes it may be on the route if you're climbing, but oftentimes it's like on the way up or maybe on the way down, where it's almost like a deja vu thing. It's like you have this moment where you're like as in the moment as you can possibly be, and you're like, I am doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing in time right now. And it's like everything is just sort of like right. And that's the best part of it. Because you're not thinking about being there. You're not at home dreaming about how cool it was. You're there, you're doing it. Sometimes it's not that glaring, like, successful moment where he's like, yeah, we did it and it's all cool. Sometimes everything fell apart and you had to bail and you're tired and you're hungry. But then you're like, this is cool. Like, this is, we went out there and we tried hard.
Right.
Yeah, we tried hard. It didn't work out, but you know what? I wouldn't change anything.
It's all about the journey.
Yeah, it is. I mean,
So, finally, what is the most important piece of advice you would give someone before they begin hiking, climbing, adventuring?
Just keep it fun. Just don't take it too seriously. I mean, you need to plan. You need to take steps, do simple things like telling people where you're going to be, where you're going. I do not recommend that beginners go alone if they can avoid it. Sometimes it's hard. You have days off when other your friends don't have days off, right? And you can only go on Wednesdays or something like that. If that's the case, like, make sure people know where you're going. Carry extra safety equipment with you. Start small. And be responsible, but ultimately, like, just make it fun and don't. We're all different. Some people sort of get off a little bit on punishing themselves or trying, pushing really hard, and that's okay. Like, I've got a little bit of that in me, but but hopefully, I think one of the great things about spending time outdoors, and it doesn't matter if you're a paddler, a hiker, a climber, a cyclist, whatever, is that it's a lifelong pursuit. You can start doing it when you're a kid, and it can go until you're old. And I think that's one of the things that is important for me, not only for my own kids, but for other young people, is that, like, most kids playing baseball, basketball, football, that stuff's great. I played football all the way through high school. I learned a lot of valuable lessons that. I had a lot of great friends. But for most of us, that's going to end. Yeah. Most of us are not going to go on to be, the Peyton Mannings of the world and all these types of things, right? And so I'm not saying don't do those things, but I'm saying, don't put so much focus into those things that you lose sight of, like, how much good can come from spending time outdoors. It's so healthy for us. It's a good thing, and the people that you meet oftentimes are going to be some of the very best people that you'll ever spend time with in your life. Be respectful of the environment. I mean, it's for all of us, right? I mean, I'm a huge proponent of public land. We need more of it, not less of it. Not only being mindful of the environment and picking up after yourself, but protecting these places so that they're there, for the future folks that come along.
And the next guy up the trail gets the same.
Absolutely, yeah. If you throw your trash on the ground, the next guy that walks up, he's going to be pissed because there's trash on the ground, and it's your fault because you did it. So yeah, so just be, and for that matter, try to pick it up. Yeah, if you see trash, if it's not yours, pick it up. It makes you feel good. It's leave things better than you found them, if at all possible. Yeah, just be responsible, and remember, anything you take in there, you need to carry out.
I think that's about it.
Cool. That's about it. I enjoyed it. Yeah, no, it's good. Absolutely.
Thanks.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Oh my gosh.
Thanks for watching our interview with Rick Spicer. Once again, we learned something.
Always learn something from Rick.
Hope you did too, about gear, clothing, basics for getting on the trail.
And I think now I'll take my steel canteen because I never thought about boiling water with it.
Good idea. Hey, thanks for watching.
Thanks.